This question is a medium difficulty GMAT data sufficiency sample question. I'll classify this one as a 650 plus level question. This is from the topic inequalities, focuses on the concept of inequalities and absolute values, which is what this is about. Inequalities and absolute values, inequalities and exponents are two interesting concepts, and questions can get sometimes tricky when you're dealing with these two in inequalities. Let's get started with the question. The question is modulus of A greater than modulus of B? Let's venture into the statements in a while. Let's understand what kind of a question is it, what kind of an answer, when is the data sufficient, when is it not sufficient. It's an is question, therefore the answer to any B verb question is going to be an yes or a no. The data is sufficient if you get a definite yes, or if you get a definite no. It should be a definite yes, data is sufficient. A definite no also means that the data is sufficient. So when is it an yes? The answer is an yes when we realize that modulus of A is greater than modulus of B. If from either of the statements independently or by taking the statements together, we're able to conclude that modulus of A is greater than modulus of B, and we know that it is certainly that way, then the data is sufficient. When is it a no? It's a no in two cases. One, when modulus of A is less than modulus of B. The magnitude of A is less than the magnitude of B. The second case is when their magnitudes are equal. Do not forget this equal to possibility. So if we're able to convincingly state, either using the statements independently or together, that modulus of A is not greater than modulus of B, then the data is sufficient. When is the data not sufficient? The data is not sufficient when you're saying sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. Taking the information in the statement, if you're able to find one case where modulus of A is greater than modulus of B, and in another case you realize that modulus of A is not greater than modulus of B, then you'll say, I'm not able to get a convincing answer, conclusive answer from this, then the data is not sufficient. With this, we'll get started with the statements. Let's venture into statement 1. It says 1 upon A minus B is greater than 1 upon B minus A. Let's make sense of the statement first and then see whether the statement is sufficient. I'm going to rewrite the right hand side of this entire inequality. Can we write it as 1 upon A minus B is greater than minus 1 upon A minus B, right? So B minus A is minus of A minus B. So this can be written as minus 1 upon A minus B. So essentially 1 upon A minus B, if we think of it as one number, minus 1 upon A minus B is going to be the negative of that number. For what kind of a number? This is the information we have about A and B from statement 1. For what kind of a number will the negative of a number be lesser than the number? Let's look at it. Let's start with a 0. 0, negative of the 0 is 0. So this is going to be equal. So this is not the case. Let's look at a positive number. 5 is a positive number. Negative of that is negative 5, which is minus 5. Is n greater than minus n? Yes. So for positive numbers, it seems to work. Let's check out whether it will work for negative numbers. If n is a minus 5, minus n is going to be minus of minus 5, which is a plus 5. In this case, n is not greater than negative of n. N is actually less than negative of n. So it works only in one scenario when n is positive. So from this statement, we inferred that A minus B, 1 upon A minus B is greater than minus 1 upon A minus B. When will a number be greater than the negative of the number? A number is going to be greater than the negative of the number when that number is positive. What is the number for us? The number is 1 upon A minus B. If 1 upon A minus B is positive, A minus B will also be a positive number, which is when 1 upon A minus B can be positive. If A minus B is positive, we can infer A is greater than B. What's the question? The question is not is A greater than B. The question is actually is modulus of A greater than modulus of B. If A is greater than B, should modulus of A be greater than modulus of B? The temptation is to say yes, but let's just check out whether it will work for all possible cases. Let's take an example. See if a counterexample can also exist. A is equal to 4, B is equal to 3, A is greater than B. The statement holds good. Modulus of A is greater than modulus of B because modulus of 4 is greater than modulus of 3. So if I go with this example, the answer to our question is an yes. Let's look at where did we say we can look for counterexamples? Fractions, negative numbers, 0, integers, or possible cases where we can look at counterexamples. So I'm going to look for a counterexample. Let me look at a negative number for either A or B. A is greater than B, so A cannot be negative. So I'm going to go with A is equal to 4. Let me retain it that way. Let me go with B to be equal to minus 10. If A is positive, B is negative, A is certainly greater than B. So this part holds good. This part holds good means this holds good. The statement 1 has been rewritten this way. If A is greater than B, in this case is modulus of A greater than modulus of B. Modulus of A is modulus of 4. Modulus of B is modulus of minus 10. Modulus of 4 is a 4. Modulus of minus 10 is a 10. Modulus of 4 is therefore less than modulus of minus 10, which means that in this case, modulus of A is less than modulus of B. So if 1 upon A minus B is greater than 1 upon B minus A, we found one case where the answer is yes. We have found one case where the answer is no, which means a counter example exists. If a counter example exists, then statement 1 is not sufficient. The statement is not sufficient. Statement 1 is not sufficient. Eliminate answer options A and D. We are down to B, C or E. Summarize this in a printed form, because this derivation from 1 upon A minus B greater than 1 upon B minus A to this is where the crux of solving this entire statement is. Counter example is actually quite easy for this statement. It's not such a difficult thing to find a counter example. So quickly summarize it. I'm rewriting this as 1 upon A minus B is greater than minus of 1 upon A minus B. When will a number be greater than the negative of the number? Only when the number is a positive number. So we can infer that 1 upon A minus B is greater than 0. 1 upon A minus B will be greater than 0 only when A minus B is greater than 0, which means A is greater than B. So this statement is nothing but something as simple as this written in a more complex fashion, nothing else. So if A is greater than B, will modulus of A be greater than modulus of B? That's what we use counter examples. If this is the example, modulus of A is greater than modulus of B, answer is yes. If this happens to be the example, in this case also we realize that A is greater than B, but modulus of A is not greater than modulus of B. Answer to the question is no. A counter example exists for this information given to us. If a counter example exists, the statement is not sufficient because it's giving us both possibilities. Statement 1 alone is not sufficient. Eliminate 2 answer options. We are down to B, C or E. Let's evaluate statement 2. If that is sufficient, we'll go with B. Else we'll combine the two statements and then see whether the given data is sufficient or otherwise. Statement 2 is a much easier statement in the way it's framed. A plus B is less than 0. It does not let us go and infer something very different as we did in statement 1. Approach I'm going to take is a counter example. It says sum of these two numbers is negative. So let's go with an example. Take A to be equal to a minus 3. Take B to be equal to a minus 4. So A plus B equals minus 7, which is less than 0, which is what the statement says. What can we infer about modulus of A and modulus of B? Modulus of A is a 3, because modulus of minus 3 is a 3. Modulus of B is a modulus of minus 4, which is a 4. So modulus of A is less than modulus of B if this example is the example we are going with. What's the answer to the question? Is modulus of A greater than modulus of B? Answer is no. So I need to find a counter example. Easy thing. Switch A and B. Take A to be equal to minus 4, B to be equal to minus 3. What is A plus B? Still the same minus 7, which is less than 0. Now, modulus of A is modulus of minus 4, which is a 4. Modulus of B is a modulus of minus 3, which is equal to a 3. So in this example, modulus of A is greater than modulus of B. Question is modulus of A greater than modulus of B? The answer to the question is an yes. If we went with example 1, answer is no. If we went with example 2, answer is yes. In both cases, A plus B was negative. We are able to find a counter example, which means statement 2 alone is not sufficient. We were down to B, C or E. Let's eliminate answer option B because statement 2 alone is not sufficient. Let's combine the two statements, check out whether the data is sufficient. But before that, let's summarize this in a printed form in the next slide. Going with an example, A equals minus 3, B equals minus 4. We get the possibility of modulus of A less than modulus of B for this information holding good. Answer to the question is a no. We have swapped A and B. This holds good still. A plus B is less than 0. But I got an answer that modulus of A is greater than modulus of B. Answer to the question is an S. So sometimes yes, sometimes no. No definite answer. We are not able to answer it with a definite yes or a no. Statement 2 alone is not sufficient. Eliminate answer option B. Down to C or E. Let's combine the two statements. Combining the two statements, this is statement 1, which we essentially inferred to be nothing but this. This means A is greater than B. That's the inference we had. Statement 2 is sum of these two numbers is less than 0. Right? Sum of two numbers is less than 0. That's a good starting point. The sum of two numbers is less than 0. Necessarily one of the two numbers will have to be negative. See, it could be a possibility of minus 4 and minus 3. Both these numbers, the sum is negative. Both could be negative. Right? Both negative is a possibility. One number could be minus 4, another number could be a plus 3. Sum of these two numbers is still negative. So one number is negative and one number is positive. That's a possibility. This number could have been a 0. One number is negative, one number is 0. So you need to have at least one negative number in the mix. Can we have two zeros and could the sum have been negative? This is not possible. Can we have had two positive numbers and could the sum have been negative? That's also not possible. So from statement 2, we can infer that there are two possibilities. At least one of these two numbers is negative, which means both A and B are negative, which is one possibility. One of A or B is negative and the other is not negative. It could be a 0 or it could be a positive number. So these are two possibilities. Let's start evaluating each of these possibilities. I'm not going to go with examples. I'm going to reason out right now. If both numbers are negative, A and B are negative, and we are going with A plus B will therefore be less than 0. So statement 2 holds good in this possibility because these possibilities were derived from statement 2. Statement 1 essentially means that A is greater than B. Two numbers are negative in our case. Both these numbers are negative and A is a larger number. Look at negative numbers on the number line. I'm going to write some here. -4, -3, -2, so on and so forth. The number, as you move from left to the right on the number line, the value keeps increasing. So let's say one of these numbers is A and another number is B. Which do you think is going to be A? A is going to be this number and B is going to be this number because A has to be greater than B. Both are negative. A is greater than B. A has to be to the right of B. In negative numbers, a lower magnitude negative number is a larger number because A is greater than B and both A and B are negative. Modulus of A will be less than modulus of B. Both are negative. We're evaluating for that possibility. We realize that A is greater than B from statement 1. Look at the number line. If A is greater than B, A has to be to the right of B. As you move to the right till 0, the magnitude keeps decreasing, which means the magnitude of A will be less than the magnitude of B. In negative numbers, lesser the magnitude, larger the number. Because A is greater than B, magnitude of A should be less than magnitude of B. This will hold good for all cases of possibility 1. So if possibility 1 were to be the scenario where both these statements are holding good, this is the answer we are getting. Is magnitude of A less than magnitude of B? Our answer is a no. Let's just remember the no. That's easier to remember. We're going to evaluate the second possibility that one of these numbers is negative, the other is not. One of these numbers is negative, the other is not. I'm going to look at some examples, right? We know that A is greater than B. One of the numbers is negative. I'm going to go with other number being positive. One negative, one positive. Obviously, A is the positive number and B is the negative number because A is greater than B. If the sum of these two numbers have to be negative, let's say A is a 5 and B is a -7, will the sum be negative? Yes. Conversely, if A is a 7 and B is a -5, will the sum be negative? No. The sum of two numbers, one being positive and the other being negative, will be negative only when the magnitude of the negative number is larger. It's essentially saying, I have 5 rupees with me, I have $5 with me. You take 7 rupees from me, you take $7 from me. If I had only 5 and you're taking 7 from me, I'll end up having lesser. I'm borrowing to give it to you. Conversely, if I had 7 with me, which is a positive number, you took only 5 from me, I'll still be left with something. So unless what you took away from me is more than what I have, I will not end up with a negative number, which means the magnitude of the negative number has to be greater than the magnitude of the positive number. Again, run through it. Some of these numbers is negative. We are looking at the possibility of one being positive and the other being negative. Which will be positive? A has to be positive because A is greater than B. Even if it's 0, that's going to work. 0 is a much easier case, so we are not even looking at it. So if A is positive, B is negative, the sum will be negative only when the negative number has a larger magnitude, which means the magnitude of B has to be greater than the magnitude of A, or conversely, magnitude, or the other way of stating that is, magnitude of A is less than the magnitude of B. The question is modulus of A greater than modulus of B? The answer is a no for the second possibility too. Recall the first possibility. I said let's just register only the answer. The registered answer for possibility 1, when both of them are negative, was a no to the question. The answer that we are registering with second possibility also is a no, because we're getting a conclusive no that modulus of A is less than modulus of B if both these data points are good. The statements together are sufficient. It's giving us a conclusive answer. Eliminate answer option E. Choice C is the correct answer to the question. Again, as I mentioned in an earlier question, you can use counterexamples to prove that a statement is not sufficient. But you cannot say that I'm not able to find a counterexample, therefore the statement is sufficient. You need to reason things out this way. We took an example, but we only reasoned out. Keep that in mind. We did not find a counterexample is not what we said. We used this example to reason. So So not finding a counterexample is not a conclusive way to say a statement or a combination of statements are sufficient. You need to have a logic to prove that. Right? It's a good question. Run through this question once more. It'll consolidate the idea about when to use counterexample, when not to use counterexample. Before you leave, I want you to do two things. Sign up as a trial user at the URL given there, wzko.in/core. It's the most comprehensive and affordable online GMAT course available on the web, available through an iOS app, available through Android. Right? Start with the free topic, statistics and averages. It will take you about 6 to 8 hours to gather momentum into your GMAT quant preparation and also to understand how our teaching methodology works. If you find the teaching methodology helping you, pay and unlock the remaining 19 topics in 8 modules behind the paywall. Secondly, before you leave, subscribe to this channel, youtube.com/Vizako, and turn on notifications. Until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay motivated.